We can
Centurion 65
pull up to
Romeo,
the whole short line and we'll
runway
call it
20,
from
clear
there.
to land, wind is 260 at 9er.
Clear to land 2065 Romeo.
One of the reasons you want that nose wheel straight when you stop is so you don't have to push on the side of the tire to get it rolling. And tower Cessna 649er62, runway 20, ready for takeoff.
Number 962, I can get you out now. Skywagon's 3 miles out, or you'll have to wait a while.
962, we'll go now.
962, runway 20, clear for takeoff, no delay, wind 260 at 12, proceed on course.
Clear for takeoff, 962.
Skywagon 5 Alpha Mike's and Cessna departing prior to your arrival.
5 Alpha Mike, we're watching it, thanks.
Number 6 Delta Romeo, you can go ahead and start your base now.
6 Alpha Romeo.
Coming back on the power a little bit around this corner, make it a little easier to make the corner. And we're ready.
Skyway 3146, roger. Let me get a release time for you, and don't push back just yet. I may have traffic taxiing behind you. Number 6 Delta Romeo, you can proceed direct to the numbers at your discretion. The Skywagon you're following is joining about a mile final, runway 20, number 2, clear to land, wind is 260 at 12.
Number 2, clear to land 206 Delta Romeo.
Got a little crosswind working you that way. There you go. And don't forget, you'll need some right rudder. The engine and prop are trying to pull you off that way, as well as the wind trying to blow you that way. So. Alright, we got 500 feet above the ground. We can turn now. See Mount
Wind
Taylor
260,
very
12.
vaguely out there on the horizon?
Yes.
That's about where we're headed, so point that direction. We can level it off at 8,000 going out this way. So.
Cessna 962, clear the class Delta for exchange is approved.
962, thank you.
But at what point, no pressure on the yoke here. I see our vertical speed is showing us down, but is that?
It's not quite stabilizing yet, so give it a few seconds to see what's going to come like, and it's looks like it can do just a smidge more nose down and
okay.
bring that to 0. Now you're pretty close, but we don't want to run it up near the red line.
Okay.
Possibly overspeed the engine, so we'll pull the power back here. And now you probably will need that nose up trim that I just took away from it, so. It'll be a very small adjustment, but there'll be some there probably. We can make a turn or two around here to clear the area and get a look at what else is around here. And remember, when you turn, your lift gets tilted off sideways. To keep from losing altitude here, you'll have to hold the nose up to approximately the same position it was when you were in level flight. Let's make another turn back this way and head back out more or less the direction we were going there. First thing we're going to try today is one of those steep turns that we looked at the last time you were out a while back.
Okay.
So, the idea here is keep the nose up high enough that you don't lose altitude while you're making a 360-degree turn. We're going to be going to 45-degree bank, which will put the wings of the little airplane there parallel with that lower white line, whichever direction we're going.
So we We're talking, as far as the top one, is it going to be out here?
If you use that index mark, then it'll be halfway between the two fat ones, over here or over there.
Okay.
Okay. So,
Sante Fe Tower.
got Sandias right in front of us as a stopping point. We're going to make a full 360-degree turn and come back there.
Regional, caution
Okay.
from the regional, the jet that's just now rolling on runway 20. Wind is 260 at 11. Proceed on course. Runway 20, clear for takeoff.
If you let that nose drop, we lose lots of altitude. So you got to pull it back up. Going to need to be up about like that.
Skywest 3146, contact Albuquerque Center 132.8.
The easiest way to keep that nose from dropping is to find a bug or a spot of some sort on the windshield out here that's about on the horizon. In this case, the horizon is going to be almost the base of the mountains out here, not the top of it. But that's about where you want it. And whatever spot you got out there, try to, as you roll into that turn, try to keep that on the horizon by pulling back just a little bit. By the time you get up to 45 degrees of bank, it'll be more than a little bit. You'll have to pull back fairly hard.
Okay. Alright, let's give it another try here.
Okay.
Foxtrot is ready for departure 20.
Number 58 Whiskey, read back correct. Gulfstream 844 Golf Foxtrot, hold short runway 20, working on the release.
Holding short, 4 Golf Fox.
Now, if you go steeper than 60 degrees, it gets real hard to hold that nose up. We're up to about, more than 45, we're up to about 60 there. And you can see how far that the spot drops on you. What you want to do when you're doing those is roll in until you think you got 45, then take a quick glance in here and
Okay.
look back outside if you need to adjust it for some reason. Let's go ahead and climb it back up to 8,000 before we maneuver some more here. You'll need full power, so go ahead and crank the power in.
Sante Fe Tower, Lobo 21, 860 helicopter.
Pull the nose up to a good climb attitude, which will put the nose out there about the bottom of the mountains. That's a little high.
Lobo 21,
Down like that.
Sante Fe Tower, roger, and continue for taxiway golf.
And in climbing, you're going to need enough right rudder to hold that ball in the middle. Now, it should be trimmed for just about cruise speed here, but it's going to take a little while to accelerate from our cruise speed of 70 up to around 95 or so where it was trimmed for. So while it's doing that, you'll have to kind of control where the nose is. Otherwise, it'll drop the nose in order to get up to that speed as quick as it can.
Okay.
Right. And let's turn and head back the other direction just so we don't get too far out here.
So we're going to adjust the throttle here too in a sec?
Yeah. Actually pretty close to where you want it to be anyhow, but okay, looks like the power's about where we had it. Looks like it'll fly pretty well hands off here, right here, so looks good. Now let's try those steep turns going to the right. Get a little more bank. As you come out of it, you can relax that back pressure. Because as we get back this way, all the lift is acting upwards again.
Okay.
And that one worked out pretty nicely. Lost a little bit altitude there, but not much. And that's pretty good.
Lobo 21, roger, you may cross all runway.
Yeah, I think part of my challenge is that I sit a little bit higher, so like the difference between the glare shield or the top of the cowling here and then the horizon is such a big difference that I'll have to bring out one of the dry erase markers again, because I think that'll help me if you have one of those.
Got it?
Yeah, that'll help out.
Okay. Let's go ahead and try another set of those. Your choice of directions will go both ways.
All right, let's do right again here.
Okay. Now going right, you probably are going to need to carry a little bit of right rudder to overcome those left turning tendencies as you pull it around here. And that looked pretty good.
All right, left turn here.
All right.
All right, that helped.
What's that?
That helped.
Big time. Yeah, I just have a hard time seeing the small differences before they become a big difference, and then you're trying to play catch up after that.
Yep, by the time they get big difference, you got a lot of catch up to do. Now, what we've been doing most of the time up till now, and the maneuvering that we've been doing and so on, has been at cruise speed.
Which is
A little bit slower, but something up around 95 knots indicated on there.
I think you have a good day.
And when we get in the traffic pattern, we slow it down quite a bit, because when we get ready to land, we want to be going pretty slow. And it makes things happen a little less quickly in the traffic pattern if you aren't going quite so fast. So what we're going to do this time is show you what it looks like when we get even slower than that.
wow. Okay.
Okay. We're going to take it down right near the edge of a stall. So to do this, we first got to get rid of some power. So pull on the carb heat, since we're going to be making a pretty big power reduction here. This is a precaution against ice forming in the carburetor while the engine's running very slowly. Now you can bring the power back to about 1500 RPM. And as we do that, you're going to have to hold the nose up, because the airplane is going to want to drop the nose and try to keep us flying at 95 knots. And without all that power, we aren't going to be able to do it. So,
You said 1500 RPM?
yep.
Oh, that gets quiet.
Now, we're going to be just continuing to raise the nose as we slow down, so that we get a little more lift from the wing angle as we lose it from the forward speed. And so you got to keep pulling it back and keep pulling it back and keep pulling it back.
We're at 96 Foxtrot Mike.
Keep pulling it back.
Good afternoon, runway 20 thanks for Alpha.
And all the time we're pulling it back and get to a higher angle, we're going slower and slower. There's the stall warning horn. Can you hear it?
Hardly.
It's pretty weak at this point. But that's about where we want to stop slowing down, so let's go ahead and add some power back in here. You're going to need up around 2000 RPM. And we'll hold this angle to keep our airspeed. It'll be a lot easier if you retrim it, so put up the RPMs about there, and then reach down and retrim it to get rid of that pressure. You got to hold the nose up there. Other way. And it's going to be almost full nose up. Now we're a little above the stall speed. The stall warning horn comes on a little ahead because it's a warning before you actually get there. But it's pretty close to what we need. And at this point, we're sitting at a pretty high angle. If you look out, you can see the wingtips out there and what angle they're making. That means that we got a lot of those left turning tendencies from the engine, so you'll have to hold quite a bit of right rudder to keep the airplane from getting slewed around this way.
Okay.
And you can see there's also a problem that we can't see where we're going.
Right.
Okay. We can fix that, and we can fly a little more slowly by adding some flaps. So go ahead and put in the first notch of flaps over here. When you do, the nose is going to want to come up, and you don't want it to go up, pull you up into a stall, so you can push the nose back down a little. And that helps to lower the nose a little. Another notch of flaps.
Minutes after departure. Departure frequency is 132.8 and squawk 267.
And we can lower the nose a little more. And another notch of flaps. And we'll be able to see where we're going. But with this extra drag on here now, we're going to need a little more power to keep the airplane going where we're going. Right now it's holding our altitude pretty well, but we're probably going to have to add in another couple hundred RPM on it as it starts to lose some speed or lose some altitude on us here. And now you can retrim it again. And if you listen to that stall warning horn, which is pretty weak over there, but it's there, you just want to be hearing that first pitch level of it, which is where we are now, which you can keep by holding the nose here.
Base tower, Cambridge at 865. We're about 8 miles southeast and now runway 20.
Cambridge at 865.
And now we're chugging along a little, probably about 5 knots slower than we were
And you are
when we didn't have any flaps out here.
Okay, we're cleared to land. Left traffic.
Don't want the nose any further down. We don't want to go faster
Okay.
at this point. We just want to hold this here. And again, quite a bit of right rudder to keep it from getting slewed off to one side. Now we're going to try a little bit of maneuvering here. We're very close to the stall, according to the stall warning horn, so you can't afford to pull back much more. And to go to a fairly steep bank, you got to pull back a bit to keep from losing altitude. So we're going to want to keep the bank angles here very shallow so we don't have to pull back on this thing. So maybe 10 degrees of bank or so is about as far as you want to go with it. Let's try a turn, 90-degree turn, one direction or the other here.
So on the attitude indicator here, where's 10 degrees?
That first small mark off of the center point up here is 10 degrees.
That is not very much bank.
Nope. But if you look down, you can see we're almost pivoting around the point down here. When we go the other way, you'll see that. Okay. Let's just stop it here on Mount Taylor for a moment. And then let's go back the other way. Very shallow banks. Now, I can't think of any reason why you might want to do this in just normal everyday flying, fly it this slowly.
Yep.
But it gives you a pretty good idea of how the airplane handles through the full range of operation. And if you should ever, for some reason or another, get slowed down this slow by accident, you at least got some idea how the airplane responds and what it's going to do.
Mike, Sante Fe, hold short of runway 20 for landing traffic.
That's a good enough here. Go ahead and level it out. And at these very slow speeds, you're going to need more rudder than you do at cruise speeds, because there isn't as much air going past that rudder, so it isn't quite as effective. You're going to have to move it a little more to get the same response out of it.
Makes sense.
And let's go ahead and recover it back to a normal cruise flight. To do that, we're going to go full power. Carb heat off will give you a little bit more power, so you turn the carb heat off. And now you're going to need quite a bit of right rudder here to keep it going where you want to. And bring the flaps up one notch. When the flaps come up, the nose is going to want to drop, just like it wanted to rise when you put them down. And if you got everything under control, flaps up another notch. And we can start letting the nose over now, so we start accelerating a bit. And flaps up the rest of the way. And now you can let the nose over a bit to get it set up. And as it accelerates, we can start retrimming as necessary.
We're going nose up, right?
No, you're going to want to go the other way now. We're holding the nose up to keep the slow flight. And now you're going to want to drop the nose so that we accelerate, come back to cruise. And we're still accelerating, so it'll take a while to get back up to that 95 knots. And you'll have to keep adjusting the pitch here with your hand and adjusting the trim to keep the pitch forces, the control forces under control. That's what slow flight looks like.
Okay.
We're in 96 Foxtrot Mike, runway 20.
The idea here is to be able to do that whole evolution from cruise, slow down, put in the flaps, make some turns, and get it back to the level flight, and hold your altitude within plus or minus 100 feet. So it takes some concentration to do that. The places where you're most likely to have altitude excursions on it is while you're changing your speeds rather than in the actual full flight itself. So that's where you have to watch it most closely. And we got plenty of altitude here. We can bring this now back to cruise flight. And we'll get ready to go back to the airport.
Okay.
So, how are we going to manage that?
Checklist time.
Good start.
ATIS 128.55.
Okay.
So there, so we're going to COM 2.
COM 2.
1, altimeter 3007. Visual approach in use, landing and departing runway 20. Departing aircraft advise your direction of flight. Notice airman. Runway 1028 is closed and barricaded. Taxiway Foxtrot closed, west of runway 1533. Santa Fe TACAN azimuth out of service. Advise initial contact information, Sierra.
Okay. Information Sierra.
Santa Fe Tower information, Sierra 2050 Zulu. Wind.
Contact ADC or CTAF.
Okay, we're on tower frequency. I'll give them a call here. Tower Cessna 649 or 62, about 13 to the south at 8,900 with Sierra for touch and go.
64962 Santa Fe Tower, make left traffic, runway 20, report downwind.
Report left downwind 20962. Okay, now we got to find the airport. We can go through some more checklist here.
And the landing light on.
Landing and taxi lights are both on.
Gas, both tanks.
On both tanks. Got gas in the tanks.
Fuel level good. Undercarriage always down.
Yep.
Mixture as required.
Should be good. We haven't changed it since we took off, and we're going back to the same place.
Prop and power set.
We're going to want to start a descent now, so let's bring the power back to about the bottom of the green arc on there. At 7,300, we're going to level it off. So start raising the nose here. And we'll just raise it far enough to bring this back to 0, and you can retrim for that. And we may want just a tad more power. It should put us in level flight to about 80 knots here. Very slowly creeping down here. I'm going to turn this up just a bit more so we keep our altitude up about 1,000 feet above the ground. About here we can start getting parallel to the runway there. And try to get it back up to 7,300 here.
Cessna 62 runway 20, number 1, you're cleared for the option, right close traffic approved.
962, cleared option 20, right traffic.
790, number 2, following the Cessna on left down, just past the tower.
Skyhawk 70 has traffic in sight, clear for the option, runway 20, number 2.
I didn't catch that.
Roger, number 2, you are cleared for the option.
Alright, opposite the end of the runway, we're going to pull the carb heat on. Power comes back to about 1,600 RPM. Out like that. 10 degrees of flaps. And we'll try to set it up for 70 knots. When we get to 70, you'll have to drop the nose a little so it'll glide at 70. And we're about 45 off the end of the runway. You can make a left turn to our base leg. Make it a little quicker than this so we get a chance to look around a little bit on the base leg here. Go, that's about right. Roll it level here. Another 10 on the flaps. Should put us at 65 knots. You can drop the nose just a hair here. And turn to line up with the runway. Now you're going to use your power in your flaps to adjust your rate of descent and try to keep that speed about 60 to 65 knots. If the numbers on the runway start to disappear under the nose or move down on the windshield, we're going to overshoot them and we can go more steeply, so you can add some more flaps. Here's where you really can use the rudders. Power can come clear off.
What's that?
Power can come clear off. We can glide to the runway from there. Clear off. And flare it about here. Now look toward the other end of the runway. When you sense it settling, raise the nose. Okay.
Ooh.
Okay. Carb heat off. Flaps up. On the center line. And we can go around, try it again.
Take off?
Yep. Now don't get the nose too high or we'll be a little slower than best climb. About like that should work for you. I don't know what that looks like from your eye height, so I can't give a good description. If you're sitting about like I am, it puts the cowl about on the horizon, but you're sitting a little higher, so it'll look a little different. Okay, coming up on 500 feet above the ground, you can check your traffic to your right. We're going to make right turns for him. And pick a landmark off there off your wing. That's where you're going to turn to get 90-degree turn there.
Attention aircraft, information Tango is our current at Sante Fe, altimeter 3006.
I'll get a look around, see if there's any traffic out here. And we'll turn it to downwind, parallel on the runway. And again, a little more rudder at these slower speeds. Got 7,300 here. You can bring your power back to about 2,100 RPM and lower the nose a bit to stop the climb.
Cessna 962, number 1, you're cleared for the option.
Cleared option 20962.
What does option mean?
Option means we can do pretty much whatever we want to with the runway. We can do a full stop landing. We can do a touch and go like we just did. We can do a stop and go where we come to a complete stop and then take off without getting off the runway.
Okay.
We can do a low pass down the runway without touching down.
Gotcha.
Got all sorts of options here. Opposite the numbers, carb heat on. Power comes back to about 1600. 10 degrees of flaps. Slow it up to about 70 knots here. As you get there, you'll have to drop the nose a bit so it'll glide at 70. And we can turn the base leg. We're a little further out on this one. We may have to adjust our power, but we'll see how it goes here. Now, if you hold the nose up, we get slow.
Tower, Skyhawk 700, midfield right downwind, traffic in sight for the full stop.
Right about there. Another 10 on the flaps. And turn to line up with the runway. We can go to full flaps on this one this time. And about here you can use your throttle to idle. And about here, raise the nose. And when it settles, raise the nose, raise the nose, raise the nose. You're on the ground, got it under control.
Yep.
Carb heat off. Flaps up. Get it all in the center line. We'll go around and do one more.
Cessna 962, continue on through on your follow through if you would please.
Right rudder, there you go.
Ready for
Back
me.
here, that's where the rudder on takeoff comes in.
Clear for takeoff.
See any traffic out here, 790 cut in front of us, so we can turn our downwind here now. And coming up on 7,300, we can pull the power back to about 2,100 and drop the nose at the same time. Little so we stop climbing.
Verify you said runway heading.
There's our traffic up there.
2840.
Don't let it pull out that way.
44.
962, right downwind 20, full stop, traffic in sight.
There's 962, number 2, runway 20, clear to land.
Cleared land, number 2, 962. Okay, top is at the end, carb heat comes on. Power back to about 1600. Flaps 10, looking for 70 knots. And we're far enough out to turn base. And ordinarily on the base leg I'd put in some more flaps, but we're getting a little lower than we want to, so we'll leave it until we get on final for the flaps here. Notice the 2 sets of red lights on the left side of the runway?
Yep.
That says you're too low. We'll give it some power. Quite a bit of power. Quite a bit.
Santa Fe
We'll
Tower,
wait till we get those lights back where we want
Charlie
them here.
inbound with you at 10,000.
Charlie 909 Charlie, Santa Fe Tower, left traffic, runway 20, report down.
Alright, now you can come back on the power back to where you were.
Left traffic for runway 20.
Another 10 on the flaps. And now we can go full flaps. And power can come off. We can glide to the runway from here. Airspeed's right about where you want it. Out here you flare it. And as it settles, raise the nose. Raise the nose. Raise the nose. And we're down. Power's clear off. Power clear off. Okay. A little bit of brake and we can get off at Gulf up here. When you brake, you'll want to come all the way back up.
Taxi to parking on this frequency.
962, taxi to parking.